Today's lesson is going to be a look at the venerable Technics 1210 Mark II turntable, and I'm going to give you 7 things about this turntable that DJs use to make their lives better, to make their DJing more fun. So this is the one that all the turntables out there now, including modern ones, are based on. The layout, the feel, the look, they're all trying to be this turntable. That's how influential this was. This is a 1210 Mark II. It's a grey finish. The silver finish were called the 1200, at least in Europe they were. And Mark II is the one that everyone has and wants and has always coveted, because they basically got everything right with this model, and everything after that arguably didn't always improve things. So we're going to look at 7 things that DJs do on these turntables that maybe hi-fi users don't. These were actually invented for hi-fi buffs. They're invented for people to listen to music on. Like the original Japanese designers said, it was meant to be like pouring tea or flower arranging, using these to very carefully place a piece of vinyl on them and get everything right and get it all going, and then step back and let it fill you with musical beauty. But of course, DJs use them for a very different set of reasons than that. We hammer them like musical instruments, and so we've developed our own way of using them, and there's things that we do that others don't that might just surprise you. So most of these things are DJ specific. A couple of them are more universal. So let's get started. We're going to start off then by looking at the lights on this turntable, because it actually has 2 sets of lights. It's got one light down here and one light here, and these confuse people. So we're going to start off with the light over here. Now this is called the strobe light. The reason it's called the strobe light is it's actually flashing on and off like a strobe light would at 50 times a second, 50 hertz if you're in Europe, and at 60 if you're in the US, but it's tuned to work well in both places. And the idea of that is that when the turntable is going round, this effectively freezes the dots on the side of the turntable. You can see the turntable has got these sets of dots on the side, right? And so when the turntable is going round, the fact that this light is not constant, that it's flashing on and off, means that it does the same as a normal strobe light would when you turn a strobe light on and everything looks like it's freeze frame, right? So I'll turn the turntable on now. It's now going round, and I've got 33 set here, which means it's going round at 33 revolutions a second. And because the pitch control, which is the tempo slider here, when you push it this way, it slows the turntable down. And when you push it to the middle where it clicks and the light comes on, the turntable is running at true speed. And when you speed it up to here, it speeds it up both directions by 8%. Because this is in the middle, the big set of dots in the middle here are absolutely still. You see those big set of dots in the middle are still. Now, if I move this up and down, keep an eye on these big dots here, you'll see that they are starting to move either to the right when I slow the turntable down, or I'll put it back to the middle off camera now. Now it's back to absolutely true. That is now rotating at 33 1/3 revolutions a minute exactly, because the dots are still. And if I speed it up, then they move in the other direction and head off moving left. So you can glance down here and know where this is set, more or less, without having to look at it. So slightly esoteric reason, right? I mean, it's just as easy to look at this. But there's another interesting use for these as well, because you see there's dots below and above. So the ones we're interested in here are the ones above. So the very top set of dots here, the ones that are moving around the fastest from left to right. If I move the pitch control up to about 6 here, to about +6, then you'll notice here that the one at the top gets slower and slower and slower until it actually stops there. That's now stopped dead. So that's now not going round left or right. It's the one at the bottom that was still is now going very fast. This means that the pitch control at the top here, at the top of its range, is actually at just over +6. So if you want to move the pitch of the playing track to just over 6% higher than it should be, then that set of dots at the top is going to tell you that you've done it. But why would you want to do that? Because +6 is about 1 semitone higher in pitch. Remember, this is called a pitch control, a pitch adjust control, not a tempo control, although it is, of course, doing both. And +6 and a bit, +6-ish, that 1 semitone boost means that you can move the whole track up by 1 musical key by putting that to there. So if you want to check that you've done that right, you've got the strobes on the side to tell you that as well. Just a little hack there. Back in the day when us DJs didn't have digital and we weren't able to change the key of a track at the touch of a button, we would use that when we were preparing mixes and testing things out to change the key of tracks. So that's the one light, that's the strobe light. What about the light on the other side here? So this light here comes on a quite pleasing push up, and it used to come up nice and slowly, but as the oil in it has kind of worn out, it pops up with quite a bang now. Nonetheless, it's got a light that shines across in this direction. So the idea of this is that when you've got a record on here, you can use this to light the surface of the record up. So originally, again, this was a hi-fi thing. It allowed you to drop the needle in exactly the right place. If you were listening in a darkened room, like you've got a nice hi-fi lounge at home with low lights and candles, and you've got your turntable in the corner, and you want to put on the latest Pink Floyd and drop it at the beginning of track 2, side 1, then this is how you would do it. You would put your album on and you would use the light that shines across the surface to find the place in the record where the next track started, which was always deliberately designed to be a little bit of a gap to give you half a chance. However, us DJs use it for a very different reason. Us DJs use it in order to light up the track to spot, because quite often the 12-inch single has only got one song on each side, right? One track on each side, like this one has got only one track on that side. But that track has got parts in it. It's got the build-up, then it's got the breakdown, then it's got the drop, and then it's got the second drop, and so on. And these things all look different in the grooves. Quieter parts of tracks look smoother, like a smooth, calm ocean. And the loud parts of tracks look rougher. So by using this light here, we can see where the breakdown is on the track. And it's not so much for putting the needle in the right place when we're lining the track up, although it could be. It's mainly for getting yourself down really low so your eyes are level with the track, and using the light that this gives you in a darkened club to literally see how long it is until the next breakdown, or until the part of the track you're interested in, until the next big change in volume. And we would use it all the time when we were beat mixing tracks and lining stuff up, especially if you're playing a track that you've kind of forgotten exactly how it goes and you've forgotten how long the different track sections are. It was just a way of almost looking at the waveform of the track on modern DJ software, but doing it by looking at the grooves on the record itself. And that second light, that white light, facilitates doing that. Okay, if there's anything that you want to know about these turntables that we don't cover here, please do ask underneath. We are here to help. We love talking about this stuff. So the third thing that you ought to know about, especially Technics turntables, although some brands nowadays still carry this, is what this lead here is for. So you get your normal leads at the back, which you would expect, which are just your standard phono leads, which plug into the back of your mixer. But you also get this little one here, which is kind of like got a little pin on it. What's that one for? Well, that one is to plug into the back of a mixer on this pole here. All mixers have got this pole on, and it's called the earth pole. So that gives you a clue, doesn't it? The reason for that is that it earths the turntable, which stops hum and buzz. Now, here's where the turntables plug in. Now, this has got, as all mixers have got, the ability to plug in both turntables and what they call line inputs. And that is part of the key as to why you need that earth lead. Because a turntable sends a very, very quiet electrical signal to the mixer. The mixer has something called an RIAA amp in it, which amplifies the volume of your turntable, not to make it loud enough to play through speakers, but just to make it loud enough so that the mixer can handle it, to make it the same volume as what's called a line input, which comes from things like CD players and so on. And the reason that the output from a turntable is so quiet is that on a turntable, all of the electrical current that gets sent to the mixer is sent by this. It's not the needle that does it, but it's the magnetic cartridge underneath it. A magnetic is the giveaway. It's got a magnet in it, and the magnet picks up the vibrations of the needle from the grooves in the record, creating tiny electrical pulses which get sent down the wires and out the back of the turntable through these leads and into the mixer. But because that is such a quiet, sensitive little electrical signal, then any buzz, any background noise is going to interfere with it. And using that earth lead takes away a lot of that potential interference. And you only need to unplug the earth lead when you've got a properly set up system and have a listen to it, and you can normally always hear the difference. So very important to connect that up. And by the way, you don't have to connect it to a mixer. Of course we do. You could connect it literally to the earth. It would still work. It's just to keep the system sounding nice and clean. So that gives us a clue to the next thing, which is how DJs use the power on off. The power on off here, you turn this that way and the power goes off. You can see the power's gone off, all the lights have gone off here, and the turntable itself is slowly slowing down, and in the end the turntable will stop going round after 10 seconds or whatever. So that is how a turntable looks when you turn it off. But we've already established that the electrical signal that comes from the needle through the cartridge and out of the turntable is not being amplified in any way by the turntable itself. In other words, you don't need the power on for audio to be sent from here out here to your audience and to your mixer. The power doesn't have anything to do with that route. All the power is doing is providing the energy for the motor to turn and your lights. We already know what the lights do. So when you're playing a record, if you turn the power off and leave that now, the audience will still hear what's going on, except they'll hear it slowing down slowly. And over that 10 seconds, you get the absolute classic DJ end of night sound, right? Where the record just slowly slows down and finishes. Such a popular thing that most modern DJ systems, such as this one here, have got settings where you can emulate that, where you can have it so when you press stop, the track will slow down just like a classic turntable when you turn the power off. So therefore, if you're using turntables and you want that classic sound, as long as the turntables are set up in such a way that they don't need electricity for the output to get to the mixer, which most turntables when set up in their standard format are exactly like that. As long as it's like that, all you've got to do is turn the power off and the turntable will give you that classic turntable stop noise. So we've looked at what both the lights do, the strobe light and the surface light. We've looked at what that third lead is for. Now we've looked at how to use the on-off button for a DJ effect. Let's look at the next 3 in our set of 7 things that DJs do with turntables that hi-fi users maybe don't. Concentrating on this one, the Technics 1210 Mark II. So the next one is what this is for. This is an adapter for 45s, specifically this kind of 45 that's got the big wide hole in the middle. If you're in the UK, you might raise an eyebrow at this because they're not anywhere near as common as they are in Europe and stateside. But that is the way that 45s, 7-inch singles, were back in the day in those territories. In England, they tended to have the same hole that we've already seen, the narrow hole on here, in which case you don't need the 45 adapter. The reason for the big hole though, and a reason why you would also see it in England sometimes, is that it was useful in jukeboxes. The old jukeboxes where the big arm used to come in, it gave it a bigger thing to aim at so it could more reliably pick the record up and put it on and take it off and so on. Either way, if you're searching for music nowadays, if you're collecting this kind of record, you'll find that a lot of those available have got this big hole in the middle. And this adapter, which if you're lucky hasn't been lost from the turntables that you use, is for putting on there to keep that in the middle. Otherwise it could be anywhere when you put it on. You can buy a lot of extra versions of this out there that are better than the one that comes with turntables, and some cheaper turntables come with a really horrible one. It's actually quite a nice one you get on a Technics. It's the 45 adapter. So now, here is a trick that even I didn't know until quite recently, and I can't believe I didn't. It's a belter. So on these types of turntables, the 33 and 45, and this isn't the trick, on some of these, if you press them both together, it will light up both lights and it will actually spin at 78. So it's a kind of cool way of playing old-fashioned 78s on the platter. It doesn't do that on the Technics 1210 and 1200 Mark II that I've got here, but it does do something really cool, and that's this. So if you are playing a track at 33 and you want to nudge it, right? So you're playing a track, there's a few ways you would nudge a track, right? There are a few ways that DJs would nudge it, and the reason if it was playing, you wanted to nudge it, it'd be to keep it in time with the track playing on the other deck if you had 2 decks and a mixer. So you might do this. You might do what's called riding the fader, and that's where you just move it up a little bit and put it back to where it was before, so it speeds up a little bit and slows down to keep the beats in line. You might hold the spindle and spin it like this, which is how I used to do it. Just hold the spindle, give it a quick twist, and then it would line up with the other track. Obviously very, very interesting for manual beat mixers because you have to be able to do this one way or another. Otherwise, manual beat mixing, you've got no way of adjusting how the 2 tracks are working with each other. However, there is another way, and this is the one that only came to my attention recently. If you hold down the 33 and just tap the 45, watch what happens here. Keep an eye on the strobes. Remember, we know that the strobes will change depending upon the speed of the track. I'm going to hold down 33 and tap 45. See that? It's actually nudging the track forward a little bit when I tap on there. So that is a way of getting the turntable that's behind the other one to nudge a little bit closer to it and hopefully get them lined up. And it's only in that direction. You can't hold the 45 and press the 33 to slow down. That way doesn't work. This will not slow it down at all. There's no change. Only in this direction. And it's only when you're therefore playing 33s. But if you are playing at this RPM, if you're playing records that happen to be there, then that's going to be fine. And so it's a good way of, if you're not very cool with nudging it, with touching your vinyl, a good way of doing it. It's a little bit like on a lot of the controllers of today. The Den and DJ ones tend to always have these buttons underneath. They put them here underneath the pitch control. They let you do that. Well, at least in one direction, these ones will let you do that there. So finally, if you're a hi-fi user and you've got a turntable at home like I have, and I'm sure a lot of people watching this video have got a very nicely set up turntable at home, you will know all about the counterweight. The counterweight on the back of a turntable is designed so that when you put the needle into the groove, the amount of weight pushing down into the record is perfect, and it's in grams. And it's very important to set your counterweight up properly for the cartridge and needle combination that you've got so that it sounds really nice. Or at least it's very important for home hi-fi users. If you're DJing in a club, it's equally important in an ideal world, but there are other things that come into play, not least vibrations from the bass. Because vibrations from the bass in a club can completely ruin turntable DJing. It can literally bounce the needle out of the groove and along the record. It can create all kinds of weird, wobbly, vibration-based distortion, which makes everything sound horrible and makes DJing close to impossible. So even if you've got the correct counterweight set at the back, and it's for another video talking about how we set turntables up, but even if you've got the correct counterweight set at the back, then it might just be that you need more weight than this can give you, even when this is set to the heaviest, because of the particular club, the particular turntable setup, the surface it's on, where the bass speakers are, and so on. Which is why you often see DJs with a penny blue tacked onto the top here, stuck onto the top of here, a penny or an extra weight. It's just to put more weight down here. It makes scratching easier, it makes cueing easier, and sometimes it makes just playing tracks possible when it wouldn't be. But there is another way, and there is another thing you can try on this particular turntable, and that is taking the counterweight off the back like this and turning it round and screwing it back on again, because you can get more weight on to here that way, a lot more weight. So if you haven't got a penny and some blue tack to stick something on the top of here, and you're finding your turntables are jumping, at the risk of wearing your records out and the needle out a little bit faster, taking off the counterweight at the back and just flipping it round can be a way of keeping the music playing when otherwise you might find yourself in trouble. DJs always hack their equipment, and this is one of the classic set of hacks in classic DJ gear, the Technics 1210 turntable. We've covered strobe lights, we've covered the pop-up light, we've covered what the third lead is for. That's not really a hack, it's a setup thing, but it does explain the pole on the back of the mixer. We've covered what the on-off button or the on-off switch can be used for, apart from just turning the turntable on and off, how to nudge with 33 and 45, how to use this or whether what that's for, and how to fix a problem if you've got too much bass in the room using the counterweight, reversing the counterweight at the back. If you have any questions about Technics turntables, setting them up, hacking them for DJing, what something on your turntable is for that you don't understand, then please do ask. We are here to help. Now, if you're still watching this video, I know that DJing is right here for you. You can't get enough of DJ culture, and you know that that's you forever. And if so, you should definitely take a look at our All Access Pass. As the world's leading online DJ school, we know a little bit about teaching DJing, and now we offer an all-access pass that gets you access to everything we've ever done, all of our courses, and everything we ever will do for one payment today. Not only that, but you get access to hundreds of lessons just like this one that are only available to people on our all-access program. It means you never need to buy a DJ course again, you never need to miss out on anything that we do here at Digital DJ Tips, and you get absolutely every piece of training we've ever made and ever will make, and that's our promise. So go take a look at the All Access Pass. You'll find it on digitaldjtips.com. All Access Pass. I'd love to have you as our latest member over there. Meanwhile, from me, Phil, here in the studio, get good, get out there, make the moments, and we will see you again very soon. Goodbye for now.